Hi, welcome to the episode. My name is Rissa Turman, and today we're going to be talking all about dinosaurs and really just diving into what makes them such fascinating pieces of the past. To start off, let's talk about the word dinosaur. The word dinosaur is something that you don't really hear outside of talking about dinosaurs, and that is actually because this word was solely created for the fossils that were found of these animals. In 1841, the term dinosaur was coined by a biologist named Richard Owen. Owen coined the term by combining two Greek words meaning wondrous and lizard. Since then, these wondrous lizards have captivated the attention of many like-minded people, including myself. As you can see, I have a really big love for dinosaurs, and it is a really big passion of mine to talk about them. I feel very connected to them, and even though they're not around anymore, I think it's still great to look back on them and really appreciate the presence that they had on our planet. Also, this is my friend. He is a Brontosaurus. He does not have a name because I did not give him one yet, but he's gonna be here. All right, so our first topic of the episode is the behavior of different types of dinosaurs, and basically everything that we know so far about how they hunted and scavenged and basically found their food. So our first category is herbivores. These dinosaurs were plant eaters, getting their nutrients from trees, bushes, fruit, and other plant material. In one study, the body water of an adult Triceratops, an herbivore, contained oxygen-18, a rare isotope found in oxygen. It is theorized that this oxygen component came from the large amounts of plant material that herbivores ingested. They were typically very big creatures, which meant they had to get their oxygen not just from water, but from the plants they consumed and the water inside those plants. The largest herbivore dinosaur recorded is the Argentinosaurus, which was theorized to be either as big as or much bigger than a T-Rex. Herbivorous dinosaurs had to be wary of carnivorous predators trying to make a meal out of them, basically. And they usually traveled in packs to be better protected against carnivores. So that is something that they had to look out for. Many of them have protective plates and large horns that were used for protection or combat, pretty much anything they needed them for. Moving on, our next topic, carnivores. Carnivores were strictly meat eaters. They usually ate fish, other dinosaurs, and small mammals. The size of carnivores typically varied a lot. There were some that were as small as a water bottle, and there were more that were as large as a building. Most carnivores had serrated teeth and sharp claws to tear flesh and chew tough meat. As we can see here, this is a velociraptor, and he has sharp claws and serrated teeth, and they were perfect for tearing flesh and chewing tough meat, as I said. Larger carnivores did not really have to worry about being hunted for food. The only thing they really had to be worried about is other large carnivores challenging them and possibly harming them or killing them, while smaller carnivores had to be wary of larger carnivores eating them, because just because they were both carnivores does not mean that there wasn't lots of fighting going on between them. Our next topic is omnivores. Omnivores were meat and plant eaters. There was lots of diversity in omnivores. Not all of them looked the same, not all of them behaved the same. For a lot of them, the only thing that they had in common was their shared consumption of meat and plants. Most of them had a mix of sharp and dull teeth to be better scavengers, because that was mainly what they were known for, is for being scavengers and basically just eating anything they could get their hands on. They typically ate the eggs of other dinosaurs, plants, and insects. They had very strong and resilient digestive systems to better be equipped for the different types of material they were consuming. Much like herbivores, omnivores also had to be cautious of larger carnivores, preying on them, and hunting them for food. Only about 2% of all dinosaurs were omnivores, which means that most dinosaurs stuck to plants or meat. The behavior of dinosaurs, their eating habits, their hunting habits, I believe it's very, very important to study, because it can tell us more about the animal kingdom today. It can just help us better understand how they lived, what they ate, and just draw similarities between them and modern day animals and also humans. Our next topic is the appearance of dinosaurs. So the appearance of dinosaurs, it's a very controversial topic, I feel, because they existed so long ago and the only thing we have left of them are fossils and imprints. It's very difficult to definitively say what a lot of them looks like, because when you don't see something with your own eyes, it can be very difficult to try to imagine what they would have looked like. Our first group is Saurischians. These dinosaurs had hip bones similar to modern day lizards, and there were two main groups in this category, and they were Theropoda and Sauropodomorpha. Theropods had 2 to 3 claws on each limb, sharp teeth, and hollow bones. They were typically carnivorous, sometimes omnivorous. Theropods are theorized to have feathers as well as scaly reptilian skin. They were bipedal, meaning they walked on 2 legs. Theropods typically varied in size. While some were 2 pounds, there were some that were 20 tons. Our next little group is Sauropodomorpha. Sauropodomorphs had long necks, small heads, and large bodies. My friend here, he is a sauropodomorph. He is a brontosaurus, and brontosaurs are considered a part of the sauropodomorph category. So as you can see, he has a long neck, pretty small head, and then a larger body with a tail and forelegs. Sauropodomorphs also had leaf-shaped teeth to be better equipped to chew trees and branches and plants because they were herbivores. They were also quadrupedal, meaning they had 4 legs, and they needed those 4 legs because these animals could weigh as much as 20 tons, and they needed them to get around. Our next group is Ornithischians. These dinosaurs had hip bones similar to that of modern day birds, making them similar to the closest known relative of dinosaurs, which is birds. There are typically 3 main groups that are put into this category, and those are Stegosauria, Ankylosauria, and Ceratopsia. Stegosauria had plates, spikes on their backs, and small heads. They were quadrupedal, meaning they walked on 4 legs at all times, and their bodies sat very low to the ground when they walked. Our next group is Ankylosauria. They had bony plates on their backs and club-like tails made of fused vertebrae. They were quadrupedal and low to the ground. Our next group is Ceratopsia. Now, most people have heard of a Triceratops, and it's probably one of the first dinosaurs that comes to mind when you hear someone speaking about dinosaurs. It's definitely a common dinosaur for people to know. So Ceratopsia, they had large frills attached to the back of their skulls. As we can see here, he has frills on the back of his head that stick out and protect his neck. They were quadrupedal, meaning they walked on 4 legs, and their bodies were very low to the ground, which is a very common theme we're seeing through the study of Ornithischians. Another fascinating thing about Ceratopsia is they were one of the only dinosaurs that had 2 roots connected to their teeth instead of just 1. So that's a fun fact for you. Our next topic is the interrelationships of dinosaurs. Now, I know you're probably thinking, they were dinosaurs. What do you mean interrelationships? I do mean specifically relationships that are unique to the animal kingdom, but also not so unique, as we see a lot of similarities between animals and the behavior of them and their relationships and humans. So the first thing I like to talk about is the parent-offspring relationship between dinosaurs. Now, this topic is something that not a lot of people speak on when dinosaurs are brought up into conversation. I know a lot of people would think about that they existed so long ago, what's the point of trying to dig into their relationships? And I understand, because sometimes it seems if something is not very close to you, it can be kind of hard to be interested in it, you know? It can kind of be hard to care, I suppose. But I believe that it's very important to talk about this. Dinosaurs were reptiles, which means they laid eggs, and they nested and brooded those eggs while they were getting ready to hatch. Dinosaurs protected their young from the time that they had hatched to the time they were juvenile, and then until they could go off on their own. There is evidence in fossil sites where the skeleton of a parent dinosaur has been found with either egg fossils or the actual bones of a small juvenile dinosaur. Dinosaurs, much like many other animals, cared for their young and protected them from danger, and they provided them with food. Parent dinosaurs would often put themselves in harm's way to protect their eggs and their juvenile offspring. They even began to fight other dinosaurs to protect their children and provided them with food until they were old enough to go off on their own and live their own lives and become adult dinosaurs who would grow up to have their own offspring. My next topic pertaining the interrelationships of dinosaurs is the type of relationships between adult dinosaurs. So starting off with mating between 2 adult dinosaurs, it is not definitively known if dinosaurs mated for life because we just don't have enough information thus far to really make that claim. but the closest living relative of dinosaurs, which is birds, it has been said that 90% of birds mate for life. And, you know, this could be the same for dinosaurs, this could be widely different. We don't really know. We don't really have enough information on it. It is theorized that at least a small percentage of dinosaurs did mate for life. And yeah, we don't have that much information about it, but it's a cool little fact. I think it just adds a new perspective to them. Most dinosaurs were content to stay out of harm's way. They weren't very vicious unless they felt they were being threatened. A lot of them only fought when they needed food and territory. And a lot of dinosaurs, they really only fought when they felt threatened and thought that they were going to get hurt and needed to protect themselves or their children. Herbivorous dinosaurs, as I mentioned earlier, traveled in packs for community and safety. We see this fact in communal nesting sites where the bones of many adult herbivores have been found collected into one place, as well as the bones of juvenile herbivores. Like I said before, I believe the interrelationships of dinosaurs is an amazing topic. I do feel not everything you learn has to be with purpose, you know? You can just learn it and know it because it's interesting, because it's fun, because it helps you empathize with the world around you and the animals around you and just the past. I believe dinosaurs are a very important piece of the puzzle in just figuring out what our world has been and what will become of it. I believe that studying the past is a great thing that we have been gifted, and I believe that it should really be put to use more. And I urge everybody to, you know, learn about dinosaurs because they're really cool. And for me, I found a real connection with them, even though they existed millions of years ago. They can teach us so much about ourselves. Once again, my name is Rissa Turman, and this was Diving into Dinosaurs. Thanks for watching.